Hey guys, Will Beach back here with another episode of After Hours Market Talk. And we're going to jump right into this. In this episode, of course, we go over chart analysis. I'll show you some indicators, learn some chart patterns. We'll talk about the futures markets, the Forex markets, and of course, like and subscribe. So let's just jump right into this one. All right, so we're on Euro USD right now. As you can see, they have we pulled back quite a bit. We had a nice run up throughout the day. It's about 60 or 70 pips on this one. If you guys remember last time when we talked about last night when we talked about these ranges here, we were saying that as long as we're in this channel, we're looking for whether or not it's going to break out here or here. And as you can see, when it began to push up here, it immediately got rejected and fell back in within this range. Now, we didn't really gain any momentum into this move, so we knew that it was most likely not going to stick. So, what does it mean when we're talking about momentum? It means that the ADXR is not in favor of this move. Let me see here. Got some messages coming through. It means the ADXR is not in favor of this move right here. It is still in favor of the short move. However, it could very easily steal this as long as we can consolidate in this top range and then work ourselves back up. If we work ourselves back up, we're going to be looking for a retest of this level here, which is where it fell out previously. If we draw a box around this range, you can see that was a big consolidation range that it fell out of, right? So let's go on to GJ, another big one, a big play. So we have been watching this one. It had a huge run up yesterday, and of course, it pulled back overnight and consolidated uh, back towards this top range. Why did I say consolidate towards this top range? Because now obviously the move is done, right? So you have this big pull up correction into now we're looking for continuation. Obviously, you can't have a continuation until you actually break those highs and keep moving up. So until we break that plane, we're technically in consolidation, meaning we have corrected and then now entered consolidation, right? So the correction being this, all of this that has occurred into this. Now this is a 4 hour chart, and in this 4 hour chart, we were watching over the last day how this ran up extremely strong once it broke out over this level. We still haven't seen the retest of the top, and we had a big pullback day today with a little bit of move here. So this would be the move we are looking at, right? And this would be a correction to that move. And now we are looking for a continuation. So until we start breaking these levels, these highs again, then there's really nothing else to do but wait, right? Because unless you got in at the floor level of breakout, then you could be a sitting duck in either direction, right? If you tried to short it, it could go long. If you tried to long it, it could go short. So you'd have to wait for the new setup, which would be a breaking of the highs, which would be somewhere in this range, which is 167.81, going up to 168.57. And then, of course, we'd want to see it break out of that. If we just talk about the NASDAQ, I know there's a lot of flickering right now. It's because I'm using a like a 30-inch monitor that for some reason is flickering. All right, so we have the ES, right? We talked about the ranges of the ES. We're still in this consolidation range, right? We had this bottom, we hit the 50, we hit the 50 again, which typically falls out and leads to a new short before we can correct. However, it held just above it, although it ended not very strong at all with a slightly, kind of red tinge to it. So when we go to NASDAQ, we're going to see something very similar where we drew out this big rectangular box. That's basically that liquidity zone of, we had a big fallout here, and now unless we get above it, we're basically still in short positioning, right? And you can see here that again, same thing, had this low into a corrective move. Well, this would be into consolidation, and then this would be looking to correct, but it got rejected. And the reason why is because it held here, right? And then it started pushing up higher, but right into rejection into that liquidity zone. So it's rejected. So we have to keep an eye out on that one to see if it's going to continue to hold in this basic area here, right? Somewhere in there, or if it's going to fall through it and keep retesting. So we're watching for that. Again, not a very strong day. It was green into red. This is what we were watching for on the daily, where it's basically been rolled, like it's could roll over very easily right here. So we're keeping a close eye on that. If you're short, then you could find yourself uh, it holding support and skyrocketing up this way. If you are long, you could find yourself getting rolled over and falling back down to this side. So this is a kind of a neutral zone that you don't want to really play too much into. You want to wait for your setups before you continue. Okay. I like to use support and resistance lines, just simple horizontal lines to show the support and resistance of previous levels. And then I use my lower indicators to show the pushing of direction, whether it's going to break out of that long or break out of that short, out of that channel. I don't play too much into that channel unless it's on a small time frame for just shorter positions because it's so erratic in that range, right? Because you're trying to say, okay, this was the bottom, it's going to the top. Well, if this goes from the top, it's going to go to the bottom, but then you see how it just kind of stops here and then goes back to the top. If you thought this was shorting back to this support line, then you would have gotten hurt really bad on that move as it shot back up. So when we're playing in this consolidation range, you just got to be very careful about what you're doing because any of these levels can act as resistance and reject or support and pop you back up. So we have to wait for our move out of these zones properly with a momentum push. Momentum meaning that as all of our indicators are showing one side, whether green or red, the ADXR is also confirming that that is the big push going behind it, increasing that momentum charge. If you look back at these ranges here, you can see what I mean. As we dive into the red on all of these indicators, you see this big push on this ADX way up, and you can see that this move was extremely strong to the downside, right? So that's essentially that's what we're looking at is we want to see this big push of momentum in favor of our move. The scale is all dependent on what you prefer. Right now, as I scale through, I look at 30-minute, 4-hour daily just to get a good understanding of the overall market conditions. Clearly, we are still short even though we got this 3-day cycle of basically green, but today ended up being a red day. You can see my indicators are still painted red, which is a uh, pretty cool thing you can add to your chart. It paints them according to the trend, not necessarily whether it was red or green. You can see that here. It's called LBR Indicator Painter on the Thinkorswim platform and you have essentially uh, red, pink, and green. So if it's pink, it's pretty neutral. If it's red, obviously it's now broken the trend to the downside. If it's a full green candle, we have now confirmed a break of the trend and going to the upside. So that is one pretty cool feature that we can use to help us understand where we're at. And currently, we are still in the red, not even in the neutral yet, just in the red. That is my quick overall recap for the day. Tomorrow, we would have to assume that we are going to be in the same sequence until we see a channel break. I'm using NASDAQ as my point of reference. All of them pretty much follow the same suit. So if we're watching one, we're pretty much watching all of them. And stocks are obviously going to follow the indices. So I don't go too much into the individual stocks. I will if you comment the individual stocks below. I have no problem going in and doing analysis on the individual stocks. But in this instance, We are strictly just going for what is the overall market conditions. Are we going up? Are we going down? What's going to happen? And right now we are still channeling, right? You do have this congruent uh, convergence of the 50 into the 150, right? So this is going to be a pivotal point of whether the price is able to bounce and pull these averages up, or if it falls back short and just curls it over and runs it back down to the downside. So this is an hourly chart on the NASDAQ, and we're currently in this kind of rollover consolidation phase. So in this instance, we are in a sit back and watch scenario until we can clearly identify where the move is going to go. Okay. All right, guys. I hope that helps, and I'll see you on the next one. Like, subscribe, and ask any questions you want, and we can follow up on that on the next episode. I'm Will Beach, and I'll talk to you guys later.